But this is also a guy who, and I'm not putting this on him, but said you've never seen a freshman quarterback like me before the season. And truth is, I've seen a lot of freshman quarterbacks look the way he did throughout the year. Do you think there was a similar approach going to this, just based on the first watch of, hey, let's just play it conservative and wait for them to make the big mistake, because that's what they've done, because we're in their heads. They downplayed a mental edge all week, but it felt like they played this hoping that Ohio State would make the big mistake.
I think they...
Doesn't that lead credence to, I think, what all of us have said, right? The only team, the last 3 years that's been able to beat Ohio State is Ohio State.
I had a staff pick typed out that had Ohio State winning this game, and it made me like, I went against my gut one other time this year when I flipped my prediction and had Michigan beating USC in LA. I didn't fully believe it. I don't know why I put that pick together. When I picked Ohio State in the staff pick that did not go out, did not see the light of day, I felt that same, I don't believe it. Like, I don't actually believe that this is going to happen. So I had to ask myself, like, by the end of why did I think Michigan could beat Ohio State? I thought it would be because Bryce Underwood would be surging heading into the game. I thought that they'd have a strong run game led by Jordan Marshall. I didn't think Justice Haynes would be as good as he was. And that would lead to a showcase and an announcement for a young team on the national scene here. I think Saturday is that moment. I think they're going to find a way to do just enough on offense and defense. I think Dominic Zavada is going to make a big kick. I think Julian Sayin is going to feel things he hasn't felt this year. And the Buckeyes might knock this Michigan team out, but if they do, it'll be in a college football playoff. Give me Michigan 24, Ohio State 23.
And scene. Love it. So that's a preview. I love that. That's a preview. That's good. We feel good to go to the same YouTube channel. What is this? The Wolverine. And let's see what we've got. Do we have a live? Oh, yes, we've got a live. Oh, we've got a live. This is good. We've got a live. Look, I'll always say it. More power to the people that do the live reaction post-game, especially after a loss, because it gets really hard. It's awful to do. I had to do it for the last 3 years. Don't like it. Don't like it at all. But did it this year. Feels good, and we're going to do a full reaction, full scope of them. This, I believe, is the gentleman that we just watched pick. We just watched him pick Michigan in pretty convincing fashion.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Wolverine.com postgame show. Here, against win at 27-9 in the Big House. Dominated the game. Offense, defense. I thought the more aggressive team won this game. The better coach, the more well executed won this game. And there was a little bit of juice early on, Ryan. But over the course of the 4 quarters, the adage in this series of late has been get them into a 4-quarter fight and see what happens. And Michigan had about 1 quarter in them. And it all just kind of fell apart on him. And on a day where it's clear that, it's not just Sharon Moore. It's not just, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. This team, I don't think, was up for the task today.
This team was not up to task and was not prepared to play in this game. And I think you have to humbly give Ohio State a lot of credit and Ryan Day a lot of credit. Not something I'm going to try to make a habit of, but they came in and they took a punch right in the mouth. And that's something we talk about on this podcast is how are they going to respond because they've had such an easy schedule. And to come into the Big House and we get a good drive going.
Okay, like saying Ohio State has an easy schedule is also like anti-Big Ten. That's the first start. The second part of it, saying Ohio State has an easy schedule when they played Texas and Texas is better than the best team that Michigan's played is like just disingenuous. But I expect nothing less from Michigan media.
Then they come out and they air one out, miss. Then they throw a pick on the second play of the game. The stadium's rocking. Michigan's got to come out and put something into the end zone from there. And then you got to give Ohio State a lot of credit. They stick with their game plan. They took some shots. Ryan Day went for it on 4th down early and often. They came to play and they came to win. And you got to give them a lot of credit. They executed their game plan well. We didn't execute ours. And we had opportunities. I think this game may have been closer than what the final score indicated. I think there's a lot of things that could have made this.
That is also disingenuous. This game was not closer than the scoreboard the scoreboard insinuated. This game was actually, I would argue that the scoreboard made it look way closer than it was. Ohio State, honestly, completely dominated that game outside of the first two possessions. So, no, this game was not closer than it was. This game should have looked uglier, and the fact that Ohio State didn't score 30 points. Like, congrats to Michigan on that front. So again, we're up to 2 disingenuous from this former player. So bad start.
This game even tighter as you go play by play. But in general, Ohio State's a better team than us this year, and it was bound to happen at some point.
We've talked about it all year because we watch all these Michigan games. They come on here and we break them down. But
is that going to be the theme? It was bound to happen at some point, because that's like what I've kind of noticed on the Michigan side of like the internet when it comes to Twitter. Hey guys, while you're here, make sure you like and subscribe, leave a comment. That all helps us. We are on the road to 5,000 subs. Couldn't do it without you. Having a blast building this community together. And now we're seeing it here, unless he's just on Twitter and just parroting things that he's seeing.
We're always keeping an eye on Ohio State. And I feel like...
Hold up, bro. Point. My guy, Miles Lockhart. My guy, Miles Lockhart. Got the dub.
You and I have said several times, or at least I have said this, and we've had the discussion. This Ohio State team that came in Ann Arbor today, and again, we're going to talk about Michigan. We're not going to give, you tip your cap, you give them their flowers where it's deserved. But Ryan Day came into Michigan Stadium with the type of team he's been trying to build since that losing streak had started. In response to that, the physicality was at a much higher level than Michigan's. The execution, the poise. I mean, look no further than essentially sealing this game late in the second half with a 20-play, 82-yard drive that went almost 12 minutes. That's I don't know.
I'm sorry. I'm listening to them, but this pick is so cold, bro. Bo had something for him, man. Shout out Cleveland, man. Bo never lost to them. Bo's never lost to them. So also, what player was it a couple years ago that talked about the chains, the Louis bag, all that, but they're soft, you know what's in them? Here we go. Chains on the sideline. This guy.
If you can remember any, that's probably the most demoralizing defensive drive I've ever seen in that stadium. So they have the explosiveness that Ohio State teams always have, but they have that boa constrictor-like ability too, where they just leaned on you. And the old adage was true again. The team that won the rush battle won the game. Again, it was just complete domination on offense and defense. So this will probably be a little more free form just because, we do game balls. I don't have any game balls to hand out. We'll take super chats. There's a couple of them in here already. One from Ramez Herrick who says, "Thank you all year for your coverage. Can't watch sports show." I don't know what that part of it means, but I appreciate that, Ramez. Daniel Schutz says, "Love you guys. Chip Lindsey equals soft. Lost the run battle." And then Teflon Don 40 says, "Bryce underthrow his cheeks. Y'all are bums." I assume that's an Ohio State fan. I came back to my car from the stadium and there was an FU written in the window in the snow, which I suppose I could have come back to worse, but there's an FU. That's an Ohio State fan. I came back to my car from the stadium and there was an FU written in the window in the snow, which I suppose I could have come back to worse. But listen, when you win this game, you earn the right to rub your rival's nose in it. Michigan stood at midfield after the game and made sure there wasn't going to be a flag planted. But when you win, you earn. If they had peed in the script Ohio in the snow, they'd have earned that. Brutus crossed out the M in the end zone. You earn that when you win the game, I guess. So we will talk about all that. Of course, we are brought to you today, as we have been on all of our post-game shows, by our pals over at Brunt Workwear. You do that. And Gordon Marshall hits a 36-yard run. You're like, well, this looks familiar. And it stalls out from there. You get points on the board, but you take a lead in the game. 2 plays into the defensive series, you get a pick. You're right back in the end, or you're right back in the red zone with a chance to score. Don't score a touchdown, put 6 more points on the board. And that was the last time you would have the advantage in this game. And a big...
Bro, he does not want to be here. It was an hour and 3 minutes. He does not want to be here.
This wasn't going to be like the ReliaQuest Bowl, where you could just kick field goals and then lean on your run game, lean on your defense, and walk out of there with a win. 2 missed opportunities right off the bat.
2 missed opportunities. And again, Ohio State coming out and responding and coming down for a long drive, I believe on their second drive, and getting a field goal out of that. I mean, they moved the ball down the field consistently, whether it was for touchdowns or for field goals. Ohio State was able to move the ball really regularly. And that's something that I was planning on hitting on in this podcast. But in general, I thought that the offense, with how sputtery and inconsistent our offense has been throughout the season, to be gifted, not the first red zone opportunity, but the second, to be gifted those 2 red zone opportunities and only come away with field goals, there was a weird feeling in my pit of my stomach that this is a problem, that we're kicking these 2 field goals and we're giving it up so easy. And it did come back to bite us. You know, the game changes dramatically before the half if either of those 2 possessions turns into a touchdown. In general, I just thought defensively, I thought we played a pretty solid game, especially in the first half. But you got to give, again, I'm not going to make a habit of giving Ryan Day a lot of credit, but how many times, I mean, I think Jeremiah Smith's 4th down conversion, how many times they go for it on 4th down, and then Jeremiah Smith is a double move on 4th down to score a touchdown.
Calling that was my favorite part of the live stream we did. It's like, and I talked about this with Zach too post game. Like on 4th down, everyone's like so worried about the sticks, so they're crashing out on everything. And it takes like the ultimate trust in Julian Sand and the ultimate trust in Jeremiah Smith to like run a double move there, but the thought process is, okay, even if we don't hit the double move, we'll likely get the holding penalty because he's going to grab at the point of attack. And that's what happened. He grabbed, no penalty went out. Obviously, like Jeremiah Smith gets some of like the LeBron treatment, but the double move worked perfectly. And it's like, when we saw Ryan Day trust the first-year starting quarterback at the end of the year, we got the C.J. Stroud electric season. Rose Bowl. And in that game, I believe we ran a slot fade for a touchdown to Marvin Harrison Jr. And it's like, when we can feel it going, we can get it going, like Ryan Day and his quarterback on the same wavelength, it works. And I think a big piece of that was Billy Fessler this year. But kudos to a former player for acknowledging how gutsy of a play call that was and how good of a play call that was.
Yeah, so Ohio State came in here with a game plan and they shot their guns. And I think that's something that I wasn't expecting them to do, but they did it. And you got to give them kudos for executing the way that they did.
A troubling through line in all 3 of these losses is, after they lost at Oklahoma, yet, Michigan does what it does to Central Michigan, and Biff Poggi steps up. And I get Biff Poggi's not the head coach, but he was by proxy those 2 weeks. Said that we're not going to take the air out of football again for Bryce Underwood. And in all 3 of the games that they lost this year, and really, I'm going to lump the Michigan State game into this just because they had to go away from the pass because he wasn't seeing anything. Your 3 biggest games, you got nothing out of this guy. And that's not, I think there are some philosophical concerns with that, and going into a shell and thinking you could kind of run the Davis Warren game plan when you have this true freshman quarterback. But the fact of the matter is that they had 5 pass attempts in the first half. And that's Alex Orji level of play calling. You lose Jordan Marshall, I think, on the second series of this game. Bryson Kuzdal played well last week at Maryland, but it was Maryland. And it just felt like you never gave yourself a chance to make any plays down the field. Andrew Marsh, your best offensive player, probably the second half of the season. No catches, no targets today. Donovan.
If Underwood was really wise and he had people around him that he really trusted, he would look elsewhere. Because, first of all, he's not that good of a passer, and he went to a place that does not develop quarterbacks. I will stand on that. And he's not a very good quarterback right now. He's not good. He really is, like, if he stays at Michigan, his ceiling becomes Jalen Milroe. And, like, cool. Like, Jalen Milroe was awesome by the time he was a senior. But, again, what was the thing? Liability throwing the football, but a great athlete. So, he's going to be on that Jalen Milroe track as his ceiling if he stays at Michigan because they don't have the infrastructure. And, honestly, like, are they ever going to get receivers? I mean, I do. Well, no, I like Andrew Marsh, but right now, dude, like, Underwood's not good. Like, he's not a good quarterback at all.
McCulley, 3 catches, 46 yards. Bryce Underwood finishes the day 8 for 18 for 63 yards and an interception. And I think that's the first time, oddly enough, since 2015 that they've thrown for less than 100 yards and not won a game. But he wasn't seeing the field today, and they didn't give him much of a chance to get in rhythm at all.
If I had to grade,
iconic pick. That's my dog right there, actually. That's my boy. That's so funny.
Out Chip Lindsey's performance today. I think he'd probably be one of the lowest performers in terms of the coaching staff. I don't think that he gave Bryce Underwood a fair shot to go win.
I'd bet that this was less of a Chip Lindsey thing and more of a Sharon Moore thing. I would bet a good amount of money on it, a good healthy chunk of change on it.
In this game with our offense. Now, I will give you that Jordan Marshall being unhealthy hurts us. I will give you Max Bredesen being unhealthy hurts us. Justice Hayes not being a part of the team hurts us. But with that being the case, I still thought that you saw a different kind of game plan that came off the sheet in the first 8, 10, 12 plays. The Bryce run was pretty heavy in the first couple series, and then it just disappeared. I don't think Chip Lindsey loaded the gun the same way that Ryan Day loads the gun for Julian Sayin in their offense. And I think that that's a criticism that's fair to say of Chip Lindsey is Andrew Marsh, no touches, no looks, no targets. Tight ends, I think Klein had maybe one or two. You look for McCulley on a jump ball, you look for McCulley on one quick hitch route, but the swings, the smokes, I mean, even some of the check down routes, a lot of the times we're throwing it to Jordan Marshall with Bryce Underwood faking like he's looking at the safeties just to do a quick check down and see what happens there. That was a lackluster schematic performance offensively. And for having the entire year to prepare, and we sit here on this podcast and talk about, well, in game 2, we're not going to show everything because we have this Ohio State game at the end.
Great pick right here too.
Call bullshit on that. This was the offense. It's young. There's plenty of excuses for it not to have performed. But I will say that you kind of sent them out there with a pea shooter today, Chip Lindsey, and they shot peas.
If Chip Lindsey sent them out there with a pea shooter, it's because he doesn't trust the quarterback that he likely has to play, because there's been a horrible job recruiting quarterbacks. Bryce Underwood's always been a project, should have never been a 5-star. Him getting dubbed this like superhero and not doing himself any favors by, going on this crazy ego-driven tour has hurt him even more. Like, you can blame Chip Lindsey, but Chip Lindsey worked with Drake May, and he's like probably thinking like, damn, like this is a major drop-off. I can't really run my offense until I get a guy that knows how to play quarterback instead of just an athlete out there.
And it was either last night or the night before, I went back and watched the 2021 Ohio State game. Similar vibe with the snow and all that. And something that allowed Michigan to get going in that game was misdirection and doing a lot of things at a different formation. We saw that and do that to Alabama in the Rose Bowl as well. When you play, this is the best defense in college football. You tip your cap to them first and foremost. But, when you play a defense that's loaded with athletes, you have to put them into conflict by, the movement from side to side or the RPOs or some sort of wrinkle. This was, to me, as vanilla and as baffling a performance as they've had on offense all year. Maybe sans the Oklahoma game. But I think the biggest problem is that, why did Michigan have a 4-game win streak in this series? I think it's because Ohio State's always going to have more talent. They recruit better. They've come into all of these games ranked either number 1 or number 2. You need to have erasers. And Justice Haynes was an eraser for this team. Jordan Marshall had become an eraser for this team. Max Bredesen, not to that level, but we talked about this last week when he goes out injured. He is your culture and what you want to do in the run game personified. And Bryce Underwood isn't your eraser yet. And some of that's to be expected as a true freshman, but this is also a guy who, and I'm not putting this on him, but said you've never seen a freshman quarterback like me before the season. And truth is, I've seen a lot of freshman quarterbacks look the way he did throughout the year, where there are peaks and there are valleys. And in this game, in the 3 games that they lost, they were pretty large valleys.
I did wonder if at what point, when we were going to see it, maybe some of the jabs from Michigan about those comments, and I was wondering if it was going to be like after this game, or is it going to be Bryce Underwood is going to get every excuse in the book? And I felt like it was going to go one of 2 ways, right? Because like at one point it's like, well, you said that we weren't going to see a freshman like you. We feel lied to. We've seen a lot of freshmen like you. In fact, you're not the best freshman in the country. You're not even in the conversation for best freshman in the country quarterback-wise. And you're not even in the conversation for best quarterback in your own conference, best freshman quarterback. So I think that's one standpoint. The other part of it is, the other side is, you're going to notice from Michigan fans and some media, I'm sure, like the Sam Webbs of the world, that there's going to be a built-in list, a built-in layer of 5 excuses for Bryce Underwood. The top thing is going to be, well, no receivers. Andrew Marsh is pretty good. I think McCulley's pretty good too. The number 2 thing is going to be, well, the offensive line is bad. He doesn't have any talent around him. And where I'll go with that is, okay, you can say he's no talent around him, but neither does Mason Heinschel. And same with Malik out there at Maryland. So, okay, whatever. The third thing is going to be Chip Lindsey. And it's like, okay, well, if it's Chip Lindsey, then you have to acknowledge that Sharon Moore made a bad hire. Or you can acknowledge that maybe Chip Lindsey doesn't want to open things up because he doesn't trust his quarterback. And that is the group there. Or maybe there's no infrastructure there, I guess, to develop a quarterback. So it's funny because, like, Michigan fans are going to want it both every way. So if they get all those excuses ready for Bryce Underwood, then you say, oh, so Andrew Marsh and McCulley aren't any good. Just say that. And then it's like, yeah. So, okay, cool. And then it's like, well, if they say, no, those 2 are good, but Chip Lindsey's doing bad. Okay, so Sharon Moore made a bad hire. And did Chip Lindsey forget how to call plays, or Sharon Moore inserting himself in the play in the offense too much? Because when Biff was here, they let it go, and I also used him in the running game in a big way. So for me, I'm curious to see the narrative and the rhetoric, or you can go with, well, he's young and he's going to develop. So that's probably the more likely one. But I'm curious to see kind of the list of layers, because here we go. My layers start to peel off year by year. In year two, if he's still middle of the pack to bad Big Ten quarterback, you lose one of the layers of like, oh well, he's young. He's played a ton of snaps. Also, we're about sophomores at this point. And then it's like, if he's bad next year, then you call for Chip Lindsey's job. And then the third layer is like, do you blame the NIL again for not getting your receivers? Because I keep getting told they're going to get a receiver. And a guy like KJ Duff, I think, could hit the portal. He's really good. Cam Coleman could hit the portal. But encapsulated, who's going to want to go to Michigan? Did Bryce Underwood do enough to hit the portal? Did Bryce Underwood do enough for a receiver, a high-profile receiver out there, to hit the portal and decide, you know what, I'm going to go to Michigan? Hint, the answer is probably not. Because if the OC's the issue and the quarterback's young and there's like developmental issues, why would a receiver in a money year want to go there? All right, we're going to pay him a lot. We'll see how it works.
I still would stand on the podium that he didn't get his opportunities to really showcase what he's capable of.
Boom. So we're going to blame Chip Lindsey. Didn't get the opportunity to showcase whatever. It's like, okay, like, didn't he?
Throughout the season. I mean, he might be capable of so much more, but we'll never know because we don't ask him to do those things.
But you know who knows behind closed doors? The OC that worked with Drake May.
And I'll take a little bit of pressure off Chip Lindsey, because I do think Bryce Underwood went through a season where he consistently felt pressure early. He might have had time for one read, then he takes it down and he takes off running. We never developed that level of the passing game. So when we had to call upon it for this game, it didn't exist. And that's something that I feel like in general, if you want to talk about the offseason or the bowl game even, if we're going to keep Chip Lindsey and we're keeping with the same coaching staff, what do we expect? We've got to set some real parameters for what we expect for the passing game, because this is not adequate enough. This can't be as...
Okay, Chip Lindsey, Bryce Underwood, but are you going to address the fact that like your head coach is an offensive line guy that it seems like doesn't like to throw the ball anyway?
Far as we go with the development of the passing game, Bryce Underwood's going to have a wasted career if this is as far as we go with what our passing scheme looks like.
And for a while, I think Michigan got bogged down in, this is pre the win streak. When they switched to Josh Gaddis, trying to fight fire with fire, doing things offensively, maybe that's a little more resembles what Ohio State does. You look at Ohio, we'll talk defense in a bit, but what Ohio State did to Michigan today can be the blueprint for what they are moving forward. You have a guy in Julian Sayin who had made one mistake, but again, spreads the ball around, puts the ball where it needs to be, keeps it out of harm's way. And you can still smash too. You could be what you want to be, physical in the run game, like Michigan likes to be. Ohio State ran the ball 47 times for 186 yards today. It's only about 4 yards a carry, but you can be explosive and you can be aggressive. And then when it's time to flip a switch and put games away, that's when you lean on your run game. And that's when a guy like Jordan Marshall becomes more dangerous. That's, it's Justice Haynes next year. Maybe it's Savion Hyder coming in, who's a big play threat, and they kind of break late. Like, you have to be able to find balance. And I'm with you. There were very few opportunities. I mean, it speaks for itself. 5 opportunities to throw the ball in the first half with the game in hand. That tells you everything that you need to know about, 1, their approach heading into this game, and 2, what they trusted their young quarterback, who is being paid a lot of money. I hate saying that, but that's the culture we're in now, to do more with his skill set than they allow him to.
And not even asking him to do anything special. I'm just talking about missing elements from the offense. Where was the tunnel screen today, the smoke screen, the halfback screen, any of those things to try to attack the perimeter outside of just an outside zone play? Where were some of those things to try to eliminate some bodies from the box? Where was the orbit motion, the zoom motions, pre-snap? There was a time in the first half, I wish I could remember which series it was, but they were coming down towards the student section end zone, or Michigan was, and we come out and it's 3rd and 5, and we come out in twins, 2 receivers each side. We look, 0 motions occur, 0 movement of the back, nothing. The defense is looking, waiting for us to make a move, and we just snapped the ball. They couldn't believe that we didn't change the look from when we broke the huddle to when the ball was snapped. Ohio State was surprised by it. And so to me,
there's just going to be a point where you either turn on the coaching staff or turn on Bryce Underwood. And I'm really curious to see what happens first. That's my interest level. What happens first? Do we turn on the coaching staff, or do we turn on the player? Do we turn on the coaching staff, or do we turn on Bryce Underwood? because I think they're going to turn to the coaching staff first. And that could get uglier, especially if Bryce Underwood decides to leave this portal season anyway, which I think if he's serious about his career, he absolutely should.
That just speaks volumes to the lack of development in the offense. And sure, it's your first year, but it's game 12. Those motions exist. It's 3rd and 5. Give them something to look at. That's not all 11 eyes on Bryce Underwood. When all 11 eyes are on a freshman quarterback, it gets really tough. And that's one thing, we're going to transition to our defense. They do a great job. Julian Sayin gets opportunities where he has nothing but time to operate, and he's super comfortable because he's in rhythm. Bryce Underwood, I felt like the play calling and then some of the stuff even pre-snap just didn't exist today, hasn't all season, and we're asking him to win a fight with one hand tied behind his back.
I think one of Ohio State's touchdowns, they ran motion, saw where the pressure was coming from, and that they went right to that area. So these are things you do to kind of to tee up the plays you want to run it. And there's a super chat here from Lorio1330 for $9.99, kind of asking what we've just been addressing, but I wanted to read it because they spent their money. What's with the offense? Bryce had all bowl practices, all spring, all camp, and 1 rep this season and threw for 1 more yard than Davis Warren. How does that happen? It can't all be Ohio State. And I was about to ask you this. How much do you think, because, Sherrone Moore has been a part of this rivalry for a long time now. He set game plans in this rivalry before he was the head coach. With how last year's game played out, do you think there was a similar approach going to this, just based on the first watch of, hey, let's just play it conservative and wait for them to make the big mistake because that's what they've done, because we're in their heads. They downplayed a mental edge all week, but it felt like they played this hoping that Ohio State would make the big mistake.
I think
Doesn't that lead credence to, I think, what all of us have said, right? The only team the last 3 years that's been able to beat Ohio State is Ohio State. And that confirms it. You have Michigan media talking about the weather. You've got this Michigan media member mentioning it looked like Sherrone Moore was just waiting for Ohio State to make a mistake. Is that not the ultimate acknowledgement? There is nothing in Ryan Day's way except for himself. There's nothing in this team's way except for itself. And this is what it looks and feels like to be knocking on the doorstep of a dynasty. In 2014, when Ohio State won the national title, the only thing that could stop them from winning the next year was themselves. And what did Meyer do? The Ed Warner thing. Last year, we're thankful it's a 12-team playoff because the thing that hurt Ohio State last year was themselves. In that Michigan game, they tightened up. They got staff alignment. They won the Natty. The players only meeting. Maybe set this thing up. Honestly, Nick Saban leaving, Julian Sayin coming here, Caleb Downs coming here, and Caleb Downs checking Ryan Day. Get out of your own way so we can go win a Natty. And we're about to watch them do it again.
went with that game plan. If it's not broke, don't fix it. But what I would say is that once you fall behind in a game, I think they went with that game plan. If it's not broke, don't fix it.
See, here we go. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Or you can go try to beat them yourselves. This is everyone's scared is what this is. Everybody's terrified.
But what I would say is that once you fall behind in a game like that, your first down play calling has to get more creative. You have to go to your playmakers, aka Marsh, that doesn't see any targets again. I think it's a crime that he didn't get any targets today and any opportunities. They did some things in coverage to limit him, but there's still opportunities that we missed. In general, I just feel like our offense just has no rhythm, has no identity. We lost so many key players that I'm sure that's a factor. But in general, we went out with a conservative game plan, and I think we even out-conservatived ourselves to where we weren't even around in the fourth quarter to make it a challenge. So I'm disappointed with the lack of adjustment. It reminds me a lot of the Oklahoma game. We go into the Oklahoma game, we're probably playing a little conservative. We're not letting Bryce. Biff says we were trying to take the air out of the ball. You get in the second half, and you're playing that conservative. You can't make a comeback. It's not how you're built. And so I feel like this team was in that same position, playing very conservative, punting, okay to punt. All of a sudden, we're punting at an 18-point deficit with 6 minutes left. And came back to bite us. You got to get aggressive at some point. And today I feel like we had the opportunity early and just didn't take the shovel and keep burying them.
I'm not going to do this whole pod. Got a lot that I want to get to, but I'm glad that they said that at the end, right? They were, Sherrone Moore went into this game hoping that Ohio State would make the mistake. They did not. And it's just more data for me. The only team that can beat Ohio State is Ohio State. Anyway, sub, leave a comment. Also, let me know what creators you want to see me react to. I'll be doing a bunch of these this whole week, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Also, guys, we do have a Discord server now, so I'm going to leave the link in the bio if you want to, come chop it up. I kind of work in there. Sometimes I'll, brainstorm in there as I continue to like try to find myself creatively on this like separate project. But the link's below if you want to be in the Discord. We do have Discord chat. So yeah, click the link. It's cool. Co-sign it.